Hi, in this video we're going to talk about eukaryotic cell structures and organelles. And recall that eukaryotic cells have a nucleus. They are larger, they are more complex, and they include organisms that have plant cells, have animal cells, fungi, and protists. And today we're going to really focus on plant and animal cells. And we're going to start in terms of structures by talking about the cell membrane. The cell membrane is also called the plasma membrane. This is the outer boundary. It lets some things in, some things out, and it is what we call selectively permeable. We'll be focusing in on the cell membrane a little bit more later on. All cells really have a cell membrane, whether it be eukaryotic or prokaryotic. But here we're just kind of zooming in and looking at some of those details. Cytoplasm, also known as cytosol, fills in all the space between the outer boundary, that cell membrane, and the nucleus. Here in this picture provided, we can tell this is a eukaryote or eukaryotic because this structure here in kind of purple, this is the nucleus. Here we see the outer boundary, and then this like brownish orange stuff, that is the cytoplasm, also known as cytosol. All cell types also have DNA. In eukaryotic cells, however, this DNA is in the nucleus. Another organelle is the mitochondria. You may have heard it called the mighty mitochondria in the past, maybe in your study in middle school of biology. And this particular organelle makes ATP. ATP is cellular energy. And interestingly, this is just a little side note. You don't have to know this, but inside the mitochondria is DNA. And this DNA is passed down from a mom to its babies. So all of you have a little bit of your mom's DNA, and only your mom's DNA, in your mitochondria. And now that scientists know this, they can use this for genealogy, for disease tracing and disease pattern of inheritance. And they can also use it in forensic science, which is just kind of cool. In looking at the nucleus, this contains DNA, so clearly it is an extremely important structure, and it is really a characteristic structure of eukaryotic cells. Look for a nucleus. If it has a nucleus, it's got to be eukaryotic. The nucleolus is the dense region. See this darkened area inside the nucleus? So this whole thing is the nucleus. There's a nuclear envelope that surrounds the nucleus, but then zooming in on this middle part, this is the nucleolus, and this is where ribosomes are made. Ribosomes make proteins, and they are found either floating around, we call those free floating, in the cytoplasm, or attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. In terms of endoplasmic reticulum, these are kind of like organelles that have membranes, lots of membranes and folds and creases. And there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. The rough ER has ribosomes, so the rough ER is responsible for making proteins. The smooth ER synthesizes, which that's just a fancy word for makes, lipids, steroids, carbohydrates, and smooth ER is also responsible for medicine, drug, alcohol, and toxin kind of breakdown. So that's what is meant by it metabolizes drugs and toxins. And notice the smooth ER down here has no ribosomes. The ribosomes are only on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The Golgi kind of looks like little folded sacs, so it looks somewhat similar to the endoplasmic reticulum, but the products of the endoplasmic reticulum go to the Golgi, and it is there that the stuff from the endoplasmic reticulum gets sorted and delivered to different places throughout the cell, or even out of the cell. That's completely possible. And how do these things get delivered and moved around? Vesicles. Now, vesicles is not something that every teacher makes you learn. I'm not going to focus on vesicles, but vesicles are kind of cool. They're responsible for moving things around the cell and transporting things from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi, and then from the Golgi out of the cell. A vacuole is an organelle I really want you to be familiar with. Vacuoles store materials. They're not going to fuse with anything else. They're not going to have contact with the Golgi or the endoplasmic reticulum or the cell membrane. They're kind of just for storage. Lysosomes break things down. If there's an old organelle that's not working right anymore, it's going to break down those cell parts. And peroxisomes act kind of similarly, except they use a special reaction involving hydrogen peroxide. I'm not going to make you know that, but you might see it on something. So I wanted you to at least be exposed to the term. And then the cell itself has a skeleton, which is kind of cool. Provides structure and support. It moves organelles around. And there are two parts of the cytoskeleton, microtubules and microfilaments. And there are pictures below. In terms of plant cells only, we have three parts that are present only in plant cells, starting with a large central vacuole. This is a plant cell sample here. Here's the large central vacuole, the chloroplast, and the cell wall. Look here at the picture. You can see the cell membrane is kind of pink, and then in green around the outside. This is the cell wall. In plants, the vacuole contains mostly water, and it's what's responsible for helping a plant hold its shape. If you've ever seen a plant kind of get wilty, it's because it's running out of water, and the leaves kind of wilt because their vacuole is no longer filled with water, so the leaf is not quite as perky. The cell wall gives the plant itself extra protection, extra support, and shape. And this is where the cellulose is located. Chloroplasts, these very, very special organelles, take energy from the sun and convert it into food for the plant. In terms of animal cells have what's called a centriole. And that centriole is shown right here in the centrosome. It's an area or a region. And the centriole, it often kind of looks like Twizzlers almost, and it aids in mitosis and nuclear division. So in summary, you want to think about how is a plant cell different from an animal cell? How could you tell the difference? So you should be able to answer that question, as well as how could you tell the difference between a bacteria cell and an animal cell?